A DVD of the idol group B Kamachi plays in a hospital room where otaku Dr. Godo watches his favorite idol, I, and a nurse teases him about his obsession. She tells him it's all over social media that the singer is taking some time off for health reasons. He tries to defend the wholesome roots of his obsession and tells the nurse about Sadina, an inpatient during his residency diagnosed with cancer. She loved the singer and often fantasized about being reborn as some famous person's kid. But Gaudo says she herself can be an idol when she gets out of the hospital one day. He'll even be her number one fan. 4 years ago, Sadina passed away. She'd be 16, the same age as I, if she was still around. Ignoring the nurse's accusations of being a creep, Gordo attends his next patient. He's floored when he walks in to find an undercover I waiting there. Her manager sits in as her guardian, and it turns out she's 20 weeks pregnant with twins. Panic-stricken and starstruck, the doctor has to leave the room to collect himself. I decides to go through with the pregnancy and raise her children, despite her manager's protests about the effect it could have on her career. After the appointment, Gordo overhears a conversation between two men watching TV about expecting celebrities. One comments he'd be reborn as a famous person's kid if he keeled over right then. And there seems like a common sentiment. The doctor decides to get some air. When I joins him on the roof, she's surprised he recognizes her, and he tells her about Sadina. I talks about keeping the children and continuing to be an idol. She'll have to lie to the public, but that's nothing new for her. She claims lies are the most exquisite form of love. Listening to her convinces Goto to help her deliver the babies safely. He feels it's his responsibility being one of the only ones who knows well that, and he couldn't stand it any other way. As expected. Delivery day rolls around, and even though Godo's shift is ending, he promises to come back to deliver her babies when the time comes. Out on the street, he stopped by a strange hooded man who knows about Ai's pregnancy. But when the doctor inquires about how the guy legs it, Gordo runs after him through the trees, coming to a stop atop a cliff face. Suddenly, everything goes black. He comes to when his phone rings, but he can't seem to move to pick it up. What if she's already going into labor? He strains to keep his promise, though it's one he'll never keep. Blood pools around his limp body, now resting at the base of the cliff, pushed by the crazed van siding us. Words come to mind being reborn as an idol's child, his last idol thought, before he fades away. But Gordo wasn't his final form. He awakens as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby called Aquamarine, one of Ai's children. The other is Ruby, his new sister. As a scholar and a gentleman, still with Goto's memories intact, he vows to discover what sort of medical sorcery landed him in this position. His manager, Ichigo, shows up with his wife Miyako, determined to get the idol back on the scene while the twins stay behind it. He volunteers Miyako to be their official babysitter. Later, Aqua watches her first appearance on TV since she went on hiatus. I almost lets the cat out the back, mentioning her baby. A horrified Aqua spit, takes kitten, a baby kitten, nice recovery. Aqua goes on to watch B Kamachi's performance. A sleepy Ruby joins him, obsessing over her new mother. Another fan, Aqua figured out that Ruby is also a bizarre reincarnation when he found her blasting people on social media for talking smack about her mother. Time passes like it does, and Miyako snaps. She never wanted any of this. She has no idea how to look after children. She decides to leverage the situation, maybe create a scandal, and sell proof of Ai's secret twins. Rifling through the drawers, she stumbles upon their birth records and begins to take pictures when the twins catch her in the act. Thinking of a way to deter her, Aqua reveals his ability to talk at barely a year old, proclaiming he's a divine messenger. She thinks it's some kind of prank at first, but Ruby joins in, and they double down on divinity. Miyako changes her tune upon this revelation and the promised possibility of a second, more fruitful marriage. Aqua, impressed with her performance, wonders who Ruby was in her past life, but she doesn't lead on much and stays as vague as possible, tucking in his sister. One night, Aqua recalls Sadina and says her name aloud. Ruby promptly opens her eyes and senses something oddly familiar about her new brother, and is briefly reminded of Gordo, but she pays it no mind. I starts to realize her income as an idol isn't stellar, and kids are a speculative investment at best. It might be. Time to look for more gigs, Miyako agrees, but they're a small firm, and it's hard to rake in that cash money. Ruby thought idols made bank, and Aqua catches her up on the reality of the industry behind its shiny veneer. They confront Miyoko about their mom's pay, and she explains that scoring gigs as a group act will only get you so far, and it's a big gamble to try to break off on your own. The twins grow tired of only getting to see their mom perform on TV, so they convince Miko to take them to her next performance under the guise of being her children on stage. I wonders what she's doing wrong. In the face of criticism, she's plastering on the same fake smile as always. Then she sees the twins, who are supposed to be keeping a low profile but stick out like a sore thumb. And everyone takes video, which promptly go viral. At least in the moment, it put a genuine smile on AI's face, which didn't go unnoticed. A year goes by, and AI is working more, even scoring a minor role in a TV drama. The twins' vow of silence is broken. It's no longer suspicious to walk and talk around other people on set. Aqua bumps into the director, panics and apologizes, using the entire dictionary, which baffles the guy. He thinks he struck gold and gives the kid his business card, but Aqua insists he give any potential work to his mother. The director decides to impose some wisdom on the kid and gives him a rundown of the different types of actors and the politics of getting screen time. He isn't blown away by Ai's acting, but she does have a good presence. Back at home, the twins and Ai gear up to watch the premiere, only to be disappointed by the minimal amount of screen time she got, prompting Aqua to whip out the business card and get some answers. The director is pretty candid about the politics behind the scenes. The powers that be wanted her to fade into the background instead of stand in the limelight. He goes on to talk about his up-and-coming movie. He'll give Ai a role, but only if Aqua agrees to be in the film as well. It's a deal. On set, Ruby gets chewed out for whining by some entitled child actor named Kana. Apparently, she's a genius actor who can lick baking soda like that or something. She goes on to talk smack about Ai suddenly being shoehorned into the script. Aqua gets ready for his scene with her. They're supposed to be the classic creepy children who greet the protagonist as they arrive on the scene. Kana delivers her lines, while Aqua is still working out the director's intentions for his role since he wasn't given any direction. When it's his turn, he completely knocks it out of the park, making Connor's performance look like she was in some church play, which she loses her mind over and begs the director to reshoot the scene. Not gonna happen. Later on, the director tells Aqua the most important thing about being an actor: people skills, which that little brat clearly lacks. He's impressed that he sussed out exactly the performance he was looking for and ultimately just acted like himself. Another year goes by, and the twins turn 3. The director was nominated for an award for his film, which helped launch AI's career as a media personality. Aqua checks to see if his old body's been found, yet it hasn't. He's still just technically considered missing. The twins start preschool, and when it's time for dance class, Ruby, nervous about her lack of coordination, dips in her past life. Due to her terminal illness, she was prone to falling down, even just trying to walk. Ai, however, is excited that she's in dance class. She has to practice the choreography for an old song for a performance, and encourages Ruby to join her. With her encyclopedic knowledge of Ai's choreography, Ruby points out discrepancies compared to her previous performances. But when she tries to pull off the moves herself, she eats it. Ai is impressed with her attention to detail, but notes that she looks like she's always just a gust of wind away from a faceplant, which is pretty accurate, at least in her previous life. Being bedridden and on treatments that sometimes do just as much harm as they do good, it was difficult to get anywhere alone, which she often was. She had memorized all of AI's performances, rewatching them hundreds, no, thousands of times, wishing she could bust a move without busting something else. She gains enough confidence to start practicing on her own, and even Aqua notices her progress and potential. One day, I overhear the twins wondering about the identity of their father, which prompts her to contact him. She suggests that maybe it's time for him to meet them and gives him their new address. Tu's recent experience in the spotlight has taken her popularity to new heights. B. Kamachi scored an arena gig. Ichigo is ecstatic. He's always dreamed of having one of the idols he manages perform in one while everyone celebrates. IE tries to figure out how she can figure out if her emotions are real or if it's all a lie. She's been putting on an act for so long as an idol. She remembers being scouted by Ichigo. She tried to throw him off by telling him she's an orphan and a liar, believing that someone like her isn't cut out to be an idol, but she was surprised when Ichigo was totally cool with it. Lying is a tool of the trade, often necessary to retain some sense of safety and distance without alienating fans. There's a knock at the door one night. While I is alone with the twins, she answers the door, where the uninvited guest stands there for a moment, holding a bouquet. He asks how the twins are, and pulls out a knife and stabs I in the gut. He rants about how she lies to her fans and that she probably doesn't even care about them, let alone him. Even gut-stabbed, she graciously explains to him that yes, she's lied, but her lies were the best things she could do for him and everyone else. Stabby is dumbfounded because he isn't capable of seeing other people as human, with their own experiences and complexities. Even more so when I remembers who he is by name Ryosuke, a regular at her handshake meet and greet events. He squeals about how this isn't how he thought it would go down and runs off the incel forms. Never prepared him for this. You know what? I didn't know what that was, and I had to look it up. And I immediately thought to myself, wouldn't an incel forum be the ultimate dating site for exactly the kind of people who would go to an incel forum anyway? Aqua sees eye bleeding out and frantically calls for an ambulance. Though his medical experience tells him the prognosis is not good, her body blocks the door, with Ruby stuck on the other side. She expresses how proud she is of them, musing that Ruby will grow up to be a fine dancer, while Aqua will be a successful actor. Knowing she's running out of time, she uses her final moments to tell her children that she loves them for the first time, and she's overjoyed because it feels genuine. The news breaks, along with her fans. Though this kind of thing isn't something new, it shouldn't be normalized or exploited by edgelords online, who have a tendency of making a kind of temporary hero out of the murderer. Sympathy for the victim fades faster than an idol's career for the murderer, even faster. Ichigo and Miyako officially adopt the twins, while the truth about their parents is still a secret. They remain in the car during the funeral, where Ruby fancies herself becoming an idol since their mother thought she had the talent for it. Though Aqua cautions against it, seeing how everything played out, he has a revelation. Neither his nor I's deaths would have been possible if not for a rat. And the only one who knew everything other than their small circle is their father. He now has a new purpose to find out who his father is, and end that man's life with his own two hands. Aqua walks up to the director afterwards and shocks him by requesting that he raise him. Years later, it's the twins' first day of high school and the first day towards the end of their father's life. Subscribe for more videos like this.